Welcome to the first session. In this session, we will discuss about VirtualBox. So we'll explore how VirtualBox works, and few major options that you'll be using going forward. So the first thing is you have to install VirtualBox from virtualbox.org. So from the downloads, you'll get the corresponding installer for your operating system. So if you are running Windows, then you can download the Windows installer from here. If you have a Mac, then you can download the Mac package from here. And also there is a variety of Linux distros, distro packages supported by VirtualBox, and also finally Solaris. You can install VirtualBox and Solaris as well. So once you install it, it's a straightforward installation, just like any other software. You can just go with all the defaults when you start the installer, and you can finish it. So once you complete that, you can install VirtualBox extension pack. So it's optional, but you will get some more support for virtual devices and some other features, which is listed here. So for the sake of simplicity, so you can go ahead and install the extension pack. So once you install it, you will get a VirtualBox interface when you start it up, and from here you can create virtual machines. So from this interface, you can see a button called New. So when you click on it, it will ask you to enter the name of the VM or the guest VM you want to install. So suppose I'm going to say I want to install a Linux VM1. So the moment you type Linux, the type and the version, everything got changed. So if you type RHEL, you can see it's changed to Red Hat. So if you type SUSE, it's changed to OpenSUSE. So if you type Oracle, you can see that's changed to Oracle Linux. So here we will use CentOS 8. So as you can see, CentOS is not listed here, but as CentOS is made from the same source code of Red Hat, then you can safely select Red Hat. So we are going to install a 64-bit Red Hat, and you can click continue. So before that, so you can see there is a machine folder. So all the configuration files and virtual device files will be created inside this directory, and the name of the directory will be the name of the virtual machine. So once you click continue, so from here you can select the virtual memory. So if your host operating system have 62 GB of memory, then you can safely allocate 1 GB or 2 GB. So you can go up to maybe up to 10 if you are not doing much work on your host operating system. So for now, we'll keep 1 GB, and you can click continue, and this is where you create a virtual disk. So what is virtual disk? So in a physical PC, physical computer system, you will have disk where you will install the operating system and also later on the programs. So here we will create a virtual disk. So virtual disk device is a virtual file, and that file will be attached to the VM, and the VM will see that as a disk. So when the guest writes something to that disk, the contents will be returned to the backing file, which is residing in your host operating system. So here we will create a virtual disk, and you can see the recommended size of disk is 8 gig, blah blah, and you can say create a new disk. Here there are different types of virtual disk. So there is a format just like the file system, and there is a different types of virtual disk format. So there is a VirtualBox disk image, there's a virtual hard disk, and VMDK. So VHD you mostly see in Windows, and VMDK you'll see in VMware. So and VDI, which is VirtualBox disk image that you can use with VirtualBox. So we'll go with the default VDI. And here there are two types of allocation. One is a dynamically allocated size, and another one is a fixed size. So you can pre-allocate the size of the disk. Suppose you can allocate 100 GB for the disk, but you may not be using that 100 GB from the guest operating system, so you really don't want to waste that much space in the beginning when you create the virtual machine. So for that reason, I would suggest you go with the dynamically allocated. So that means a file will be created for storing the content, but the size may not be 100 gig. So it is kind of allocated space, but it is not used. So the moment you start writing, or the guest operating system start writing to the disk, the space inside this virtual file will be used. So in that way, the space allocation will be on demand, and you don't waste any space. So we'll go with the dynamically allocated one, then click continue. So this is the place where you're going to store the backing file for the virtual disk, and this is the size. So here I'm going to say 50 GB. So as I selected dynamically allocated, so I'm not going to use 50 GB when I create the VM, but the usage will increase based on the disk usage from the guest operating system. So here you can press create. Now it is created. So here you can see disk is created, the VM is created. So if you go to settings, and from system, you can see what is the size of the memory that you have allocated, and there is a boot order, it's a chipset, pointing device. All these devices you'll see in a physical machine. So here everything is virtualized. Here you can select, and the monitor count, you can go up to 8 monitors if you want, but I will go with the default for now. And here disk storage, so here you can see two disk controllers. One is an IDE disk controller and one is a SATA controller. So in an IDE disk controller, you can see two icons here. One is for attaching an ISO or a removable DVD drive, and another one is add a hard disk. So different controllers support different types of disk. So as you can see, the actual virtual disk or the disk is attached to the SATA controller. So it will look something like this. So you'll have a disk controller. It can be either SATA or IDE, and you can attach a virtual disk drive or a virtual hard disk to that disk controller, and there will be a corresponding backing device. That is how it is look like. So the next one is your network. So this is one which needs some little bit more explanation. So there are different types of network, and you can use up to 4 we can add 4 NICs to a VM. So that is the max limit that we have, and you can attach that NIC or network card or the virtual network card to different network. So what are these networks? So to explain that, we have to go through the Virtualbox networking, so especially bridge, NAT, and host only. So in a physical machine, after you install Virtualbox, so you will see a set of virtual networks, and you may not be able to see those, so but from the interface you'll be able to see. So from where we can see that, so let's cancel it, and from network, so you can see you can create few networks. So if I go to network, here you can create a NIC. So what is this? This is your host only networking. So what is host only networking? We'll come to that. So for now, let me remove that. It is removed. We are here, the network. So there's a NAT, it's a host only, and there is a bridge. So we are going to discuss about these three. So when you create a VM, you can attach the network card or the virtual NIC to the bridge switch. So what will happen here is if you have a network with an IP address range of 172 series, then you can add a free IP address within the range of 172 to this VM, and this VM will be able to reach outside of this host, and it can communicate with other machines within the network, and also the machines within the network can reach this VM. So in fact, this virtual interface will act like a physical interface. So bridge switch is the one that does all the work for us. So the physical interface will be attached to the bridge, and the bridge will then redirect traffic to the particular VM. So the next type is host only. So in host only networking, there will be a virtual NIC created in the host operating system, and the VM's NIC will be attached to this host only switch. So there will be a pre-allocated IP address for this interface, so you don't have to worry about assigning an IP address here. The only thing that you have to look for is you have to allocate an IP address to this virtual interface within the same range. So that's one we have seen earlier. So in network, so you can see the moment you create a network, that will be created with the type of host only network, and you can see it automatically assigns IP address range. And also you can enable DHCP. That means that virtual switch can support DHCP, and it can provide IP address to the VMs. So when the VM boots up, if the DHCP is enabled, the VM will get an IP address from that range of that virtual host only. So the other important thing is this VM will not be able to go out of the network of this physical machine. So if you have one more VM that is attached to the same host only switch, then that two VMs can communicate each other. Even the host can reach this particular VM because of this virtual interface. So the third one is a special type which is called a NAT switch. So in NATing, so we don't really allocate IP address to the interfaces. So the interfaces will be in DHCP mode. So when the VM boots up, it will request an IP address from the NAT switch. The NAT switch will provide both IP address and the DNS details. So when it tries to reach the internet, that packet will reach this NAT switch. The NAT switch or the NAT virtual switch will rewrite the packet source address with the IP address of the physical interface of the host, and then the packet will be sent out. When reply comes back, the NAT switch will get it, then it will change that receiver IP address to the VM's IP, and the packet will reach the VM. So the benefit here is the VM can go outside of the host and also to internet also, or to other VMs within the network, or other physical machines in the network, but those other machines cannot reach this VM because all other devices within that network will see the physical or the source address of the host, because the NAT switch will do a network address translation. So that is why it is called a NAT switch. So that is the overall idea of VirtualBox and how VirtualBox works. So if you can go to the settings, you can go to storage. So as of now, the virtual DVD drive is empty, so you can actually choose a disk file. So remember there will be a backing file, so you can download the CentOS ISO and attach to it. So now the CentOS ISO is attached, and you can press OK, and now you can start the VM. So it says it asks for the confirmation, so you can actually change which one you want, which ISO you want. So here I'm going with CentOS. So when you start it, the window is very small, so you can use mouse up arrow key. So when you click it, your mouse is gone. So you can see there is a left command that I use. So in a Windows system you might say left control. So I'm typing the left command, then I'll be able to release the mouse. The window is too small, so how can I change that? So let me close. It will ask you to whether you want to save the machine state so that you can resume from the same window, or you can power it off. So I'll power it off for now, and then I'll go to settings, go to display. So here you can scale up to like 150 or even 200. So I'll go to 150 for now. You can press OK, and then you can start it. So I should see, yeah, it's a little bit bigger screen. Now you can click inside. Now you can install CentOS Linux 8. So that's the overall introduction about VirtualBox and how the virtual disk and virtual networking works. And we will see in the next session with another tutorial. So thanks for watching this video, and please let me know your feedback in the comment section. So what to improve, what to change, what you want to see. So I will consider it. So thank you so much for watching.